And at one point in my journey, I had asked a woman of God to pray for me, to tell me what the truth was of my circumstance, because I just wasn't finding it. And, the prayer of a righteous man or a righteous woman avails much. And that prayer that was made for me so many years ago is still coming true today. I'm still getting the truth fed to me from. There's some little kid out here whistling. I mean, what a surprise, right? Right when I'm in the middle of this. But by the way, I found out the connection to the evil and the whistling. One of these days, I'll tell you what that means and where it all dates back to. But it's actually just a little boy, it's a little blonde boy walking with his family, just trying to whistle as loud as he can. And you remember when you first learned to whistle? That's a big deal, right? So where was I? So I asked this woman of God to pray for me and give me the truth, and of course the Lord sent me the truth in multiple ways and multiple days, and loads of it, and confirmation after confirmation as to who was involved, and it was the Mormon Church. Okay, because the Lord had called me as a young man to preach the gospel to the Mormons out of love, and out of love for their poor innocent children who were being deceived, and so it turned out in my case that I found out exactly who the Jezebel was in my life and who was pulling the strings uh, with all of the political corruption, with all of the financial oppression, with all of the honeypots and intimate infiltrators um, who were, said they were ex cocaine dealer, but, probably not so ex um, if you knew the whole story. And of course, I didn't know the whole story at that time. I was deceived, and the way that I found out who she was that she screwed up. These bad guys will screw up if you wait long enough. And I'm waiting for a train one day, try to get out of town, and she comes up to me and she hears my cats meowing because I got my cats out of my house too, and she just come over to talk about cats with me. And she wouldn't shake my hand, but the one thing I noticed is she did have the blonde hair and the blue eyes, like a lot of Mormons have. They believe in the Book of Mormon. It used to say white and delightsome was a good thing. Okay, the very racist religion, extremely racist down to their core theology, and so I should have known at that point that she was a Mormon, but it didn't cross my mind until later. And I was researching some stuff one day on my computer, and the Lord had just showed me. I mean, this woman was silly enough to give me her name. I don't think she thought I would survive long enough to be able to figure out who she was, but I did. Lord always delivers us. Uh, he's got a day that we're appointed to die, and the devil might try to take you out sooner than that, uh, but without any luck. So I'm looking on the computer one day, and there she is, a photograph of her. She's a woman of some fame, and she's connected politically to more than one member of Congress. The point of my testimony today is to try to urge you, if you don't know what the truth is, the truth will set you free. And so you've got to find a man or woman who is righteous, who will say a prayer for you, or join in your prayer, come into agreement with you that you find out what the truth is. Because if I was still operating from a perspective of deception, um, confused and not knowing what the truth is, because I had been led astray by the devil and his servants, you're never going to get some freedom. You're going to only know the freedom from the truth. And Jesus is not only the one called faithful and true, he's the truth with a capital T, the way, the truth, and the life. And so through finding out who the Jezebel was in my life and her connections to the people that had been oppressing me, and her connections, of course, to the Mormon Church and to the government at the highest levels and state government too. You see, because in America there's a lot of cults, and we have religious freedom here, or at least they say we do. And there's only one cult, however, that's got a bunch of members of Congress. And there's only one cult in America that controls one of our 50 states and controls some of the U.S. territories as well. But primarily one state here in America is a theocracy, the state of Utah. At one point, it was, I think, 70% Mormons were there. And to give you an idea, the Supreme Court in Utah, there's 5 justices on that Supreme Court, and often there's all 5 of them are Mormons. So if the Mormon Church has a case or controversy that they need to bring up to the Supreme Court, you can take it to the bank who's going to win that one. And of course, they had senators way back when Utah first became a state, and they didn't want to seat the senators because not only was the practice of polygamy considered to be something that was horrible and demeaning to women and against the Bible, but there was testimony in the Congress before they would even seat the first Mormon senator. His name was Reed Smoot. And you can go back in the congressional record and find testimony that in the temple of the Mormons they have there in Salt Lake, they say that they're a Christian denomination, Christian above all denominations, because they have more, what they say is revealed truth than the rest of Christians. Of course, that's all a lie. But the temple there in Salt Lake City has inverted pentagrams instead of the cross of Christ there. Hard to imagine anybody being a Christian without the cross of Christ, but that's how they do it. And so in the Congress, they said that they had testimony, sworn testimony, that there had been virgin sacrifices going on in the Mormon temple there. And this is not some crazy, whacked out theory. They even mentioned it on a PBS documentary back in 2007, public broadcasting. Public broadcasting system had a Frontline American Experience multi-part documentary on the Mormon Church and Mormonism and its connection to American history and so forth. And they even mentioned how that there was testimony in the Congress about these human sacrifices that were going on in this temple.